finalize. First of all, how do we want to call the files? Ideally, we would like to have the original file name. How do I type in original file name? Well, again, I'm working with tags in the name options. In here, you have a million combinations on how you would like to define your output. For example, original file name. Now, when you're working with MXFs, you may not want to choose original file name for various reasons. You can give it a try and you will see what you will have in the end. Please go ahead and use the bin clip name. Wait a second. Bin clip name. So this is very, very important. You say add, it adds the tag and gives you a preview of how it's going to look if you, for example, are rendering out file sequences. Okay, so bin clip name is very important, and then you say the destination path, which is demo dailies, and I call it MXF demo. Okay, so that's going to be my output. By the way, what source of timecode is going to end up in my final file? This is where this comes into place: timeline output or source time code. This is very important. Okay, we definitely want the source time code and not the timeline time code that usually starts at 0. Again, let's continue. Video output, I absolutely may want to have MXF for Avid, and I go for 220 megabits, and I want to make sure that I'm matching the frame rate that I have here. So in this case, I want to have HD 23p. Furthermore, the autoscaler is set to the settings of the timeline. If you, for example, set this to another scaling, it will override the settings done in the timeline. So this is important to mention. So whatever you set up here will override the settings that you do here. By the way, you need to enable the burn-in, and you need to enable the clip-wise rendering, because if you hit render now, it will render one long clip, and you definitely don't want that. So you go ahead and say clip-wise rendering, and next to it is another button, which is the options. So let's take a look at the options button. It's actually a pretty cool button because it allows you to configure the ALE that is going out of the system together with the MXFs. So at this stage we have enable ALE, and we can say what sort of information do we want to embed into the ALE. So for example, if you did a color correction in Clipster, you can add this color correction information as a CDL information. Okay, so you would need to transfer this over to this column, which I'm not going to do. For example, if I have the facility, I could add the facility to my ALE, okay? But the presets are pretty good. You don't really have to mess around with them. Okay, so now we're going to render. So here are the MXF files. So if I drag them into the timeline, I can see they're definitely there. I have to disable my burn-in, and then I have the rendered baked in burn-in this case. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to show you what happened to the real name. I selected the folder. So let's take a look at the real name. First of all, the default configuration does not show you the real name. If you want to do this, again, config, and in the thumbnail view, bin thumbnail view, you scroll to the very bottom and say real name. Okay, so here we go, real name, and it says card 5, and that's what I would expect, because we said we would like to have the subfolder +1, which is card 5 in this case. Okay, so it totally makes sense. And the next step is going to be to conform everything or to import everything into Avid, which I'm going to do now. My Clipster MXF demo. Let me create in the Avid Media Files directory a second folder and drag all the files in there. Okay, I have opened Media Composer. Let me create a new project and call that project redmxf. Same frame rate. I hit OK and launch the whole thing. Next thing is I'm going to grab my ALE. And if I expand the whole thing, I get the metadata. Now, in order to see more, let me enable the columns. And we have here the name of the clip. We have the camera. So it's camera ID 1, camera ID 2, take 1, take 2, scene 1, scene 2. We have the tape, which is card 5. So all the information that we previously typed into Spicer now magically almost pops up in the Media Composer. And the next thing I'm going to do is to relink. So I simply say relink, and the clips are relinked now. So if I grab them, drag them into the timeline, I can see basically exactly what I have rendered out, and I'm ready to edit. And all this works the other way around as well. So once I have performed the edit, I can hand over metadata to CLIPSTER, and it will conform based on the high resolution RAW files. That's pretty much the workflow. Keep in mind that you don't need to log things in CLIPSTER. You can do it with Spicer outside of the CLIPSTER environment. And the whole logging process is the so-called Digital Dailies logging feature that DVS provides. Thank you very much. Bye.